You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Thoughts of suicide may feel impossible to overcome, but with help and support, you can find hope and meaning. Call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK to speak to a counselor, or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org. It's free, it's confidential, it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And even if it feels like it, you're not alone.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, overdesigned, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover. All for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 5000 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 5000. Enjoy.
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
There's a place
out where the fake news is muffled,
past the point where politicians get silent,
where facts don't care about your feelings, where PC is DOA. This is that place. Welcome to the last stop on the right.
As Stephen Douglas told Nestorius of Constantinople.
Not Istanbul. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
When Julia Child cut the Gordian knot.
Oh, wow.
Because all of that happened. The last pod is the best pod. Yo. Here's a Jeopardy answer for you. Welcome, my friends. It is the last pod on the right here at laststopontheright.com and, of course, through America's Podcast Network, KLRNradio.com. I am Ben Crystal.
I am Mike Abel.
And, oh, my goodness, do we have podcast fabulosity for you today. It's like the whole country is just trapped. I don't know, I was going to call it like a feedback loop.
Yeah,
I mean, even the memes, the memes have stopped dead.
Yep.
Because all it is now is Epstein didn't kill himself, and the two ladies from the reality TV show and the cat, and that's it.
The cat who doesn't give a damn.
With the exception, perhaps, last night of Myles Garrett attempting to murder Baker Mayfield or Mason Rudolph on the field with his own helmet.
Right.
I don't think anything particularly cool that would qualify as cool under any other circumstances has happened in weeks.
No.
And that's why we're here, to sort it all out for you, my friends.
Because mainstream media is going to make you think that cool stuff has been happening, but...
Well, they have to, though. I mean, to be fair. Now, granted, most of them at this point are just carrying whatever water the Democrats hand to them. Be like, here, carry this. Okay, where do I take it? Just take it over there.
Just let everybody know.
They're desperate. No wonder they're trying as hard as they are, because you imagine trying to make this corned beef hash into a different meal every week.
That's true. I mean, when your lead story is 232 billion people are in danger of freezing in America.
Oh, I know.
What?
Yeah,
what?
and by the way, we tape here, and so the last pod on the right is taped live before a studio audience of my 3 dogs in Savannah, Georgia.
Actually, 2 of them. I saw one run upstairs.
Did one of them leave? One of them left. There's I want nothing to do with these 2 idiots.
I'm out.
So she's gone, but it's been reasonably chilly. It's not stupid cold here because it is November, but
I mean, for Savannah, it is very chilly.
But the nation is in the icy grip.
We're in the grips. It's snowstorms. And
I like
blah,
when
blah,
they
blah.
do the
I'm
thing
like,
with the big. I like when they do the thing with the big rhetoric, like the nation falls under the icy grip of Old Man Winter. Dun dun dun. I'm like,
the thing that kills me is the 232 million people are in danger because of this winter storm. I'm like, it's winter.
Yeah, if you're in danger, if you're not new to the planet, and you were taken surprised by this.
Right. Somebody pulled
then you suck at being alive.
You're right. Somebody pulled you out of America Samoa.
They're like, wait a minute.
Dropped you in Minnesota.
So
and said,
all you brought was a bathing suit? Exactly. That doesn't seem like a good plan.
Grass skirt?
Yeah, a bunch of Somalis up in Minneapolis going, I did not know it was going to be like this when I moved here. And I'm like, well, Ilhan didn't give you the whole briefing, did she? Turns out you do need a coat from time to time. No, the dish dasha and is not going to be enough. And I hope that burqa is fur-lined or something. You could be hating life.
Damn it, Ilhan.
Well, the other part of it being, of course, that I take it that global warming has gone south for the winter. Which it does this time of year every year.
You actually know it's gone north for the winter, but,
it's gone
technically because now it's in the north side.
Of what?
The hemisphere.
The hell are you talking about?
Hemisphere. It's winter.
Well, okay.
That's why it's cold in the north.
And now we know why Mikey did not pass his meteorology classes
well,
or geography.
You know what? Come on,
no, they went. It's whatever. They do this every year. It gets cold and they have to change. It's just because of climate change. I'm like, no, it's because the Earth has a slight axial tilt.
Yes, we're leaned away from the sun.
Yeah, these guys talk about science. I'm like, you want some science? Here's some science. The Earth is not standing straight up and down in its orbit. It's tilted slightly.
23 degrees or something.
As a result, during the different seasons, sometimes the north port is pointed toward the sun, and the southy part is pointed away from the sun. And then in the other times, it's the reverse. See, and that's why you have seasons.
Yes.
We used to call it seasons. Now we call it climate change, whatever. Anyway, so it's I'm not. I have winter clothing. A couple of weeks from now, I'm going to be up in the Northeast to visit my family for the holiday, which is we always do this. We do Thanksgiving with my family, my brother, my parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, and their kids.
Right.
This is my favorite trip of the year. I don't care. Last year we were up there. One morning I got up, it was 10 degrees. And, my wife is like, I'm not going outside. I'm like, I can't wait to get outside. I love it. I'm going to go down to the rink and skate with the kids because it's so much fun. And then, we get to eat all the food, which...
Well,
I'm like, I enjoy being with my family anyway, but I really like it when it's cold out.
Yeah, no explanation about the food.
No, dude, my mother, you should see it. Once in your life. I should take a picture and send it to you.
Right.
My mother's Thanksgiving spread is like stupid. Like, if you ever have one of those moments where you're like, maybe we are a little bit overconsumptive in this country.
A little
like
gluttonous
the entirety of the African continent could live for a year. And and there's no leftovers. There's a little bit of turkey left over because we go into that stuff like it's going to get away from us.
There's the carcass left over, and then Mom makes soup out of it.
I'm like, you know what? Here, you can have the cranberry goop.
Yes.
Tell you what, Akbar, here, have some cranberry goop. But we'll be doing more on Thanksgiving next week.
Yep.
In anticipation of course, the big holiday. I'm sorry, the rape of indigenous peoples day or whatever the
man. You know that was
the woke,
that was Columbus Day.
Whatever the woke mob is calling it. Now.
We fed them on Thanksgiving. Get over it.
Here you go. Here, I tell you what. They're Elizabeth Warren's very ancient ancestor. Here's some pudding. Now shut up.
Let's go.
Shut up or I'll give you another blanket. Oh, we went that way.
Yikes.
All right, we do have, but we want to get into a lot of stuff this morning. And so before we get into all of that, whatever time you're listening to The Last Pod on the Right, whether it's through laststopontheright.com or our good friends at America's Podcast Network, KLRNradio.com. Got to let you know what's going to be coming up. So, Mikey, open the dumpster and tell us what is rotting it, what is moldering inside it.
Well, of course, the worst coup ever. Democrats dragging their latest impeachment stunt into the weekend.
So dumb.
I mean,
it's not even. It's just dumb.
I don't even pay attention.
Well, we'll tell you about that in a minute.
That's cool. Looks like we're going to have to make room in the clown car. Hillary is going to need some space. Actually, Hillary's going to need a lot of space. Exactly.
She's not the only one.
No.
She's not the only one. We got that, we got that
all
coming
sorts
up for
of
you,
people
too.
coming in now. Speaking of Hillary, Epstein didn't kill himself.
Literally taking the universe by storm now.
I know.
I mean, even the liberals are like, okay, really?
Yes.
Epstein didn't.
He didn't do it.
Okay.
Off target, a school shooting in California sets off the usual misses on the left.
And we'll be talking about that. We're going to get a little bit serious with that because I want to ask you, as a parent of school-age children, to weigh in on that. So we're going to but we'll do that in a minute or two, hopefully.
All right.
Unless we completely run out of time, which is also possible.
That's true. And, of course, pay to play. Should the NCAA free the athletes?
We got some thoughts on that as well. We don't want to do that now.
Right.
Hopefully we'll do that before the end of the program.
No, we've got something much more important.
We do.
Yes, before we get to
that seems unlikely.
It's time.
That anything important would ever happen on this podcast.
It's time. It's time for the one segment on The Last Pod on the Right that isn't totally without value.
We have one.
As we all know.
This is the one.
This is it. As we all know, the Democrats Party so-called impeachment circus wrapped another week. And once again, Trump is still president at the far end.
Bad news, kids.
Yep,
he's still president.
And Ben, I don't think that this is going to. This is really going the way that they had planned it to.
You think?
I don't think so.
You think?
I don't think so. So,
if it had gone the way they'd planned it to, Trump wouldn't still be president at the end of every one of these weeks.
Nope, they'd be trying to impeach Pence by now. But
by the way this is going, by the time they actually pull something off, they're going to be impeaching Barron in his second term.
That's right.
It'll be 2042, and Pelosi will be up there. I don't like the look on your face, honey.
Well, it's definitely not going the way they planned it.
This is true.
We are here to help
because we're caring and sharing.
We are
here at The Last Pod on the Right. We want to help you.
Yes. So from our home office in Nancy Pelosi's Botox cabinet,
which is surprisingly crowded.
It is pretty full.
It's a little scary in here.
It is time for this week's Grade 8, and this week's topic: the Grade 8 signs your impeachment ploy isn't going well.
The Grade 8 signs your impeachment ploy is not going well.
Is not going well.
From our home office in Pelosi's Botox cabinet.
You like that?
Well, it's the only place in California with fewer used hypodermics than San Francisco. So.
Whoa.
Oh, and there's also less human feces piled up in here.
That's true, and I heard, you heard what? San Francisco has decided that they're going to quit prosecuting prostitution
I heard about that.
And public urination.
Yeah, if you poop or pee on the street in San Francisco, also I think minor property crimes.
No ticket.
But you remember their new DA, and I know we're off topic here, we'll get to the Grade 8 in a minute, their new DA is the son of two terrorists.
That's very, very true.
No, literally, his parents were with Ayers and Dorn and them in the Weathermen, and they are actual terrorists.
Yep.
And he obviously, the apple, which may be rotten to the core, did not fall from very far from that sad, gnarled little tree. So he's coming into San Francisco, which is now essentially an open sewer. Which is a shame. And I don't want to harsh on San Francisco too much, because if you go to San Francisco and you don't, if you could like fly over it or something, like from a drone, it's very nice looking. It's a nice, but it is now essentially an open sewer. And the new DA, who is the son of terrorists and is like them, has announced that is going to, on his watch, they are going to make an effort to make it even more appalling. So good on you. Good on you, buddy.
More excuse for me to never visit.
I know. It's like Californistan is it's like they've got this thing going now where they're like, we really want every American to know that they're just not welcome here.
Don't come here.
Well, we don't want to come. Okay, but you know what? Fine. When you wreck the place, you have to stay. That should be a rule.
Yes.
If you vote Democrat in Californistan, you can't leave. That should, okay? We'll put it that way.
I'm good with that.
You can do whatever the hell you want. You can have your, we're not going to prosecute the needles and the pooping and the property crimes or whatever. You do whatever you want and keep voting for these morons with your wildfires and your rolling blackouts and all the rest of it. But if you voted Democrat in California, once it completely becomes an unlivable hellhole, you're not allowed to leave.
I don't.
I think that we should do that.
I think it's already an unlivable hellhole.
You're stuck there, Moonbeam.
Stay.
All right. Anyway, great 8 signs. One of the things that makes this podcast really awesome is our ability to completely ignore what we're saying we're going to do and do something else entirely. The great 8 signs your impeachment ploy isn't going well.
Yes. Let's help them out.
Number 8. George Soros has stopped taking your calls.
Whoa. Oh, wow. Yes.
Beep, boop, boop, boop. Hey, George. He hung up on me.
Click.
The bag man for the Democrat Party is like, no, I don't want to know you. And that's a bad sign.
I'm out.
Number 7, the great 8 signs your impeachment ploy isn't going well. Stelter and Acosta won't let you sit at their table in the CNN cafeteria.
Yeah.
No, you got to sit with the nerds. They're out in the parking lot.
Yes. Nope. Sorry.
Wait, there are bigger nerds than you guys? Yeah, and you got to go sit with them. Number 6, the great 8 signs your impeachment ploy isn't going well. The House pages aren't even trying to hide it when they call you pencil neck.
They're
not doing it behind their hand. Hey, look, here comes pencil neck.
Impeachment's bad, okay?
Impeachment's bad, okay. Number 5 of the great 8 signs your impeachment ploy isn't going well. Number 5, the communists changed the password to their clubhouse, and they won't tell you what the new one is. Hello, guys. Let me in.
No.
Niet. Nice. Niet. You may not come in here. You are embarrassment to communists worldwide. Stalin would have sent you to Gulag by now. You know what? I'll give him credit for this. Stalin was a monster and one of the great mass murderers of human history.
Yes.
But if he was in charge of today's Democrat Party, he would have taken Schiff and thrown him in the Gulag months ago.
That's very true.
You are making mess of this. Maybe. I handle better. You go to Gulag.
Maybe we should bring him back. Oh, wait.
I mean, they have the same, the today's Democrat Party has the same political ideology that Stalin did, except that they're not capable of pulling off the mass murder and the Gulag.
True.
But they would if they could. I'm just saying Stalin at least would have been more efficient about it.
That's true.
We wouldn't have had endless weeks of show trials. It would have just been the one and it would have been over.
Right.
Anyhow. Yep. Number 4, the great 8 signs your impeachment ploy isn't going well. Even AOC is telling people you're dumb. She can't even spell dumb, and she says you're dumb.
About to say, when AOC says it, damn, that's
bad. Mean. That's like Smokey from Friday going, man, I think you should lay off the pipe.
You smoke too much weed, man.
Yo, man, I think you should lay off the bong. Like if Katie Hill is like, you know what, I think that's a little unseemly, then you are really way off.
You are way off.
Number 3, the great 8 signs your impeachment ploy is not going well. Hillary Clinton mentioned you on MSNBC last night and said you're not worth the bullet.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And, and she has no trouble with that. So,
or the news.
Allegedly.
Or the news.
Allegedly. When Hillary Clinton is so unconcerned with you that she's no longer interested in killing you, then you are of no importance.
Right.
Done.
If you ever want to get rid of anybody, say, hey, so-and-so has dirt on Hillary.
Yeah, they gone. They are Mohandas K.
Gandhi. Speaking of Stalin-esque type
if she gets elected president, there will be gulag.
Oh, yes.
They won't be good. Like, she'll screw it up because she's Hillary Clinton, but she'd give it. I trust Hillary Clinton to give it a shot. She'd do it and be like, I'm doing it for the betterment of the people. She'd use like old Stalin lines and stuff. Number two in the grade 8 signs your impeachment ploy just is not going well. Nancy Pelosi is making you sit at the kiddies table for the House Democrats' exploitation of Indigenous Peoples Day. Sorry, Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes.
You got to sit at the kiddie table. And the number one sign your impeachment ploy is not going well. The Republicans are being really nice to you all of a sudden. Hey, Adam Schiff, love you.
Keep going.
You've done more for us this year than everybody else in America. And you know, kids, as we wrap up the grade 8 for this week, I've got to say this. Put aside all the rest of it. I don't care what your political affiliation is. If you are going to be objective about it, I'm not making a statement about the value or validity of the impeachment hearings. I'm not making a statement about, who's doing what for what partisan reasons. Put aside all that and look at the numbers. You will see that Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats' impeachment whatever have done more for Trump as president than Trump himself has been able to accomplish, at least in months.
There was no collusion with the Russians. It was collusion with the Democrats.
Well, and it's beyond belief now. I mean, they've got rid of that because now it's collusion with the Ukrainians is what they're saying.
Well, yes.
I'm not sure which Ukrainians. Obviously not the same ones that give Hunter Biden an $83,000 a month no-show job. Different Ukrainians.
Right.
But Schiff spent 2 years saying, I have proof. He didn't hint at it. He didn't beat around the bush at it. There wasn't, he didn't preface this with allegedly or whatever. Adam Schiff, whom I think we have established at this point, certainly on this program, is an enemy of the Republic.
Yes.
Adam Schiff spent 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years, saying flat out, I have proof that Trump colluded with the Russians. They don't even acknowledge that those statements were ever made anymore. Now we've moved on to something else.
Yep.
And that should tell you and people aren't stupid. We've talked about this more than once on this program, that one of the problems the Democrats are having with this impeachment nonsense is that people are sick of it.
Yep, that's it.
And like I said last week, and I believe the week before, if you are the average American, your personal interests, the things that your need tos, your have tos, get paid. Go to work, get paid so you can have stuff.
Right. Not
wonder whether or not the human thumb, Adam Schiff, has got Trump this time. Because after a while, it's never going to happen.
Right.
It's very Chicken Little-y.
That's true.
And you're like, okay, I'm sick of it now. Well, yeah, I'm sick of it now. It's the same thing that happened to them with the global warming. It became every single prediction they made turned out to be wrong. And after a while, they changed the name. They're like, we don't call it that anymore. Yeah, because it turned out you were wrong. So we call it climate change now. Well, that's a nice little catch-all. But now they've dropped Russians and Ukrainian. They just say collusion because it's a catch-all.
Right.
Because they've been wrong or, well, in some cases, dishonest every single time. People are sick of it because it's like, well, I've heard this before from you guys, and it wasn't true. Like the global warmists. You called it global cooling, that didn't happen. Then you called it global warming, that didn't happen. Now we call it climate change. It was Russian collusion, then it's Ukrainian collusion, then it's somebody else collusion, and it's never true. And after a while, it doesn't matter if you change what you call it. People are sick of hearing it.
Yes.
Like, I'm done. As an American taxpayer, you are contributing to close to $200,000 a year in salary for people like Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi and I know AOC, but she's got problems of her own. She's beginning to fade a little bit. Ilhan Omar is now the leader of the Al-Qaeda squad.
Right.
But you're coughing up a lot of money to this. They're not doing anything constructive for the people. Mm-mm. Even if you hate Trump like you hate cancer. Even if you wish that Trump was, loaded onto a rocket and fired into the sun, you have to acknowledge that the business of the day-to-day business of the country is clearly not the primary focus of the people who are supposed to be focused on it, when every week is, well, this week we've got, who do they have up there? On Friday morning, they had Yovanovitch Vadavuda, the ambassador who got canned from the Ukraine. Right. Trump was like, okay, you're disloyal and you're gone, because that's what presidents do. You serve at the pleasure of the president if you're an ambassador.
Right.
If you work as a foreign service officer, you serve at the pleasure of the president. If you are disloyal to him, you're gone. Which is not, and she's not the first one that this has happened to. No. And if you watched Friday's nonsense, at least in the morning, if I heard her say possible or maybe or in my opinion one more time, I was going to throw something at the TV. I turned it off. Oh, because they were leading her to, well, in your opinion. Well, it doesn't matter what her opinion is.
I want the facts.
If you are talking about it was like a bitter exit interview. Before that, you had Taylor and Kent, two other former Foreign Service guys. You had Sonderland a couple weeks ago with the, I forgot that it turns out that I did hear XYZ that Trump did with Ukraine. So right. I'm like, okay, that's a little, that was so obviously convenient that they dumped him pretty quick.
Right.
And then last week we had Taylor and Kent to start the week, and it was all just speculative. I mean, it's like you're basing this on third and fourth hand hearsay, then it's not legitimate. No. And then Yovahana Hudahanovich or whatever, she's up there saying it's possible, in my opinion, the way I read it, from what I understood. I'm like, no, this is like a high school game of telephone. Well, my cousin's best friend's sister's ex-boyfriend heard that that Trump on the phone with Ukraine. I'm like, right. That's not legit.
No.
You can't, you could do that. You could do that all damn day. And they do that because they're feeding bread to the masses. The average liberal is not capable of the thought processes necessary to understand that they are hearing from people who are obviously partisan, obviously trying to get Trump, and obviously didn't hear any of the stuff they're testifying about. No. When you say it's possible that, and or in my opinion, or from what I heard from XYZ that PDQ said, then there's no actual, if this was a criminal court, none of this stuff would even be allowed. they wouldn't even be on the witness. The judge would be like, okay, you got to get out of here.
Right. It's possible that I heard that Epstein killed himself.
Yeah, well, exactly.
But
the only difference being that we know that we're almost certain that Epstein did not, in fact, kill himself.
Yes. No, I don't know that for sure.
No, we don't know that for sure. But it's and I'll tell you where you're seeing the Madam Clinton, Madam Secretary. I'll tell you where we're seeing the fallout from this in the biggest places. You're listening to the last pod on the right, whether it's through laststopontheright.com or America's Podcast Network, KLRN Radio. One thing that you're beginning to notice is that there's a theme, and it's not just the rhetoric from the hosts on this network or from conservatives in general. You're noticing a theme, which is that when they come to you and they say whatever, that they've got Trump this time, one of the things you're beginning to notice from us is that we are starting to say the same things over and over again.
Right.
And you ask, well, why is it the conservatives keep saying whatever they say? And my response would be because we keep being confronted with the same nonsense.
Right.
Sonderland, then Taylor, then Kent, then Yenahuva Havahovich, and whoever else. And there's never any facts.
They're gonna bring up Greta, the little pissed off.
Oh, the special kid from Sweden or whatever. Where is she? Is she from Sweden or
Norway? One of those.
Whatever.
Scandinavian.
They painted a mural of that poor kid in San Francisco. I'm like, oh God, really?
Good God.
Stop exploiting. Independent of this impeachment nonsense, stop exploiting that child. That is a mentally ill teenager, and it's just horrible.
Send her back to school.
If you're part of the group that continues to lionize this child, it's wrong because you're abusing a mentally ill kid, and I can't stand it. You mentioned the Epstein thing. I don't want to spend all day on the freaking
the impeachment because it's just not worth it.
It's just dumb.
It's not worth it.
You mentioned the Epstein thing. I can't help but notice that even the liberals are now like, okay, really? Epstein didn't kill himself. The Simpsons.
Yes.
The Simpsons. Matt Groening is very far to the left.
Yep.
And the Simpsons are now in on the Epstein didn't kill. It's...
How could you not? I mean...
you're talking about what may have been the single most convenient suicide since Cleopatra.
Yes.
2,000 years of human civilization. This is the most convenient suicide since Cleopatra let herself get bitten by the snake. Right. I mean, it's that obvious. Nobody buys it anymore. Meanwhile, while that's all going on, and it has become the meme of the century at this point, Hillary is telling people that, and she's talking, well, we knew it was coming. When she started talking to Pocahontas, they got to be palsy-walsy for a little while there. Yeah. By the way, you notice that's dead because I think Warren realized that, oh, wait, she might be serious. I need to protect my flank here. Yep. Hillary told, I can't remember which interviewer it was. It doesn't matter. She says she has been getting pressure from a number of people to run, to get into this race and run for president. First of all, Hillary, the voices in your head do not count as people.
Hey, I'm pressuring her. Get on in there. Get on in there, please.
First of all, the voices in your head do not count as people. Take your damn meds, Nana. Second of all, when the voices that are pressuring you to run are all conservative,
please.
Have you not thought about it? I mean, she is so wrapped up in her own hubris that she actually thinks this is a good idea. And it has not occurred to her that the people making the most noise about her getting into this race are all on the right.
Yep.
We're like, go for it, baby.
Please.
We're the same ones that keep telling Adam Schiff to keep it up. Go for it, dude. Keep this sham going. By the time we get to next November, Trump is gonna beat whoever they come up with. And Hillary may be in the clown car. We got another person that may be getting in and talk about him in a minute. It's going to make make Reagan Mondale 84 look like a photo finish. Oof. It's because people are, you got to be kidding me. And as I've said more than one time, the Democrat Party has, while they have not proven anything that they said they were going to prove, they have proven that they do not have the intellectual, financial, or media resources. You know, they're just, with all these Hollywood people that work with them, you'd think they'd be better at this. They do not have the resources to carry a fake impeachment, which is an attempted coup, and a presidential campaign all the way. We're still a year away. Yep. 365 more days of this. And people were sick of it a month ago. They don't have what it takes. Yeah. So, Hillary, you want to get in? Get in, baby. Yeah. What does that tell you?
Please.
What does it tell you, though? I mean, the latest news, I think, is the Castro twin, the one that's running, not the other one.
Right.
Whichever. He did not qualify for the next debate.
Is that Fidel or Juan?
Yeah, Fidel.
Oh, wait, wrong ones. Wrong Castro.
Jorge, whichever. Raul, you can't run.
That was him. Raul.
Fidel, Raul, whichever.
Whichever.
He's out, I guess, because that's the other part of it is they don't qualify for the debate, but then they stick around for a minute. You got Robert Francis is done. He quit.
He's gone.
He's done. He's back drinking and driving and breaking into people's houses.
Dancing on bars.
And wearing his furry costume or whatever. But Castro did not make it. Anyway, Hillary's going to take his place, I guess. Yeah, well, you keep waiting. And also, Nana, you keep teasing it. If you don't eventually get in, it's going to be anticlimactic when you do. People are like, oh, now she gets in? Fine. I'm like, hey, go for it. As a conservative, I want her to run. I want her to get in guns blazing because she'll nuke their field, and it tells you a great deal about the quality of their field.
Right.
Can you remember, honestly, the last time you heard a newscast or a news hour or a newspaper or whatever, a website, lead with a story about anybody who's currently a declared Democrat candidate? It's been at least 2 weeks that I can think of.
Yeah, when Bernie had his heart thing.
I'm not even kidding. The last time a Democrat, declared, qualified Democrat presidential candidate for the 2020 election actually led a news cycle was Bernie having a heart attack.
Yep.
And they haven't since then, which tells you a great deal. Because Hillary can just say, the voices in my head are telling me to run, and it leads the cycle. The impeachment scam. the attempted coup, leads the cycle. These guys are such losers that it's possible that Hillary could get in and immediately take the lead. Polling indicates on Democrat side that she would tie Biden at worst the moment she got in.
Right.
Which tells you, and by the way, Joe Biden is still running for president. Do you remember that?
He is? Wait, what?
The only time you hear Biden's name anymore is when someone talks about the fact that Ukrainian business magnates paid his kid $83K a month for a no-show job because they were trying to buy influence in the Obama administration.
Right.
By the way, if you're looking for real Ukrainian collusion, there it is. There was no Trump collusion.
Right.
There was Biden collusion, however. And if you think Hillary won't throw that in his face if she gets in the moment, I'm waiting for one of the other monkeys to do it, whether it's Warren or, there's so many in the cage these days. Because people don't say monkey. I'll tell you what, it's like when you go to the Democrats' presidential race is like when you go to the zoo and you go to the monkey house. And there's a reason there's glass.
So they can't throw the poo on you?
Because they sit there and they shriek at each other and they jibber jabber and they throw poop. And they're like, well, you're going to have glass up there. And that's what the Democrats essentially are at this point. She gets into that cage. Everybody else is finished anyway. But it's like, really? I mean, these guys, they don't even have the wherewithal to lead the cycle. And the media is theirs.
Right.
Hillary could get in now and murder all of their candidacies, and I'm not even sure anybody would notice. The guy who is still leading the polls, Biden, ostensibly leading the polls, hasn't led a news cycle in at least a month, and the only time you hear his name is because his kid was playing crooked games with the Ukrainians.
Right.
Bernie has to have a freaking infarction to get a news cycle. Warren's out there every week. It's like she's come up with something new that she's going to have the taxpayers give the woke mob for free.
Right.
And that's all she can come up with. Tulsi Gabbard is hot.
Yes.
You know what she is? She's not somebody that we would vote for, or that I would vote for, but she gets into the news cycle because she's cute and the other Democrats keep making fun of her.
You suppose we could get her and Hillary to have a fist fight?
I don't think that would last very long.
Exactly.
You know what? And don't make the mistake of thinking that Gabbard would win that, because Hillary's going to fight dirty, and you know it. Hillary will grab anything she can get her hands on.
She would win it. Then she'd end up dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway.
Much like Epstein. Whoops.
No,
but
it's
the Epstein story. We could spend all day on that too. Anyway, they are not the only ones. There is another, as if the case of the Democrat Party's current nominee wannabes wasn't sad enough already. Not only is Nana Hilldog considering getting back in because they are such a bunch of losers. Mm-hmm. They're about a year and a half ago, there's a guy, he used to be the governor of Massachusetts. His name is Deval Patrick.
Yes, I saw this.
He might still, I don't even know, whatever. He used to work for Bain Capital. I remember back in 2012 when working for Bain Capital was considered a bad thing. Well, now he used to work for Bain Capital. He is pretty far to the left. He's got some pretty serious bad check marks on his resume. I mean, he's defended rapists from justice. The thing where he's throwing taxpayer money at curtains. Basically the thing with the Cadillac. Uh-huh. Basically, if Deval Patrick gets in, the only people that are going to be excited are overpriced interior decorators, sex offenders, and luxury car dealers. Well, but he's thinking about getting in.
He sounds like he'd be perfect.
Yeah,
for them.
Well, you're sitting there going, from the average person listening to the last pod on the right, whether you're tuning in through laststopontheright.com or America's Podcast Network, KLRNradio.com. You're sitting there probably going, who the hell is Deval Patrick? He is a former Bain Capital exec who's also a former Massachusetts governor, who is also who is related to was the guy his brother, maybe the accused rapist? That he leaned on the official to not let him be on the sex offender registry.
Right.
Because he didn't want to hurt his feelings or whatever. The guy's a joke, but he's actually considering getting in. And I'm like, what does this tell you about these people? It's like every week you get a new reminder that the Democrat Party's only idea for 2020 is get Trump. None of these people could beat Mike Pence either, by the way.
Right, no.
So that came up this week, and I was like, oh, for God's sake, really? You almost feel bad for them. But then you don't because screw them.
They're all like interchangeable parts.
They really are.
I mean, this one's out. We'll put another one in.
Here's a thought experiment for you. Go have fun with this, kids. Go out there this weekend. Find just the first person you see that you don't know. All right, because it can't be somebody that you know because you'll know what they're thinking already. Go find someone that you don't know. Don't grab somebody on the street because they might think you're trying to mug them or something. Let's not put you in danger. But if you're in a bar and you're just talking or whatever with somebody, and you don't know them, you just met them, be like, let me ask you a question. Say, name 5 of the Democrats currently running for the Democrat Party now that are actually qualified candidates who are declared.
Right.
Okay, it can't be Hillary. Can't be Deval Patrick. Okay, has to be people. It can't be Michelle Obama.
Can't be Bloomberg.
Can't be Oprah. Okay, they are actually already officially in the race. Can't be Bloomberg. Exactly. Name 5 of them.
Yeah, I bet they can't.
No, and I guarantee you they can't.
I can do 4 right off the top. But
right off the top.
The 5th, I'd have to be.
All right, you got Pocahontas.
You got Pocahontas. You got Bernie, Biden, Gabbard, because she's hot. Sorry. And then past that, I don't know. Beto's out. I don't know him anymore.
Well, it's really, you start going around the room, you're like, wait.
Oh, I know. Actually, I can't name a 5th. The dude running the TV commercials, Tom.
The dude running the TV commercials.
Tom,
Steyer.
It's Tom Steyer. That's him.
By the way, if you're known to the American public as the dude running the TV commercials, I mean,
he's the only one.
I know, but it's like you don't know whether or not that makes you a good presidential candidate or just another one of those lawyers.
Yeah, that's exactly when
call
it came
1-800 ambulance chaser, and I'll get you some money quick. I mean,
one call. That's all.
That's really if your campaign's media strategy is indistinguishable from personal injury lawyers, that's not a good sign. But seriously, because they can't do it. They can't do it. And that should tell you everything you need to know about where they are. As they're banking everything on an impeachment farce that is nothing more than an attempted coup. As you mentioned at the top of the program when we looked in the dumpster, it's the dumbest coup ever.
Right.
It's so dumb. You've got people that are sick of you, sick of your party's primary message. You're a year away, and your candidates are so devoid of interest, captivating qualities, personality that's a positive of any kind, that you're being overshadowed by people who aren't actually in the race, and a meme that suggests that the person who would lead it if she got in is probably a murderer.
Yes.
And that's where you are. It almost doesn't matter if Trump's the bad guy that they all say he is. If you're not going to get him, and they're not going to get him, because fifth-hand testimony, believe it or not, kiddies,
don't hold up.
You're not going to get this through the Senate. It's all academic anyways. You're not going to get it through the Senate anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I guess they're hoping they can do that, but put it in the Senate and say, oh, well, the Senate stopped it. Oh, they're the bad guys. Did you know that the U.S. Senate stopped impeachment because they're enemies of the people, blah, blah, whatever. It's not going to – if you go to the Senate with, we've got Trump on fifth-hand testimony, then you're done. And they're going to – and they can't risk it now. That's another part of this that nobody's talking about. You're hearing it first here on the last pod on the right, kids. Your buddy Ben is telling you this is going to continue for a while. Because they're all in. They don't have another strategy.
No, they don't.
And if they play this card too early, then what? So they go to the Senate. Let's say they go to the Senate in February. I don't know how long they're planning to try and drag this out. Let's say they go in February. Okay, they're going to say, fine, we'll have our vote. That's going to be a party line vote. They might get one or two Republicans that vote yes, and there going to be one or two Democrats that vote no in the House. But it goes to fine. They get their vote. It goes to the Senate for the trial. It dies in the Senate. It's February.
Quickly.
March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. You have 9 months left with no message other than, presuming Hillary gets in, our leading contender is emotionally and mentally unstable, potentially a serial killer.
Right.
And that's what you've got. And behind her is a racist fraud who thinks everything's too expensive but made $400,000 a year to teach one class at Harvard. Mm-hmm. And who else is there? A hot chick from Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
and that guy that used to be Joe Biden. And Bernie, if he lives.
If he lives.
Bernie, if he's not in hospice care by then because he's got to have a heart transplant.
Hey, but if he goes, they can always get Larry David to take his place.
That's true. I only have one pair of underwear. That might be all they've got. All right, I want to get away from this because we do have one other presidential note I wanted to mention that Nikki Haley popped back up in the news. Did you see her pop up?
Yes.
She had some thoughts. She's like, oh, no, listen, I'm still behind Trump. People going, well, is that her doing a sideways look at getting in? Because, Mark Sanford dropped out.
Yes.
The supposed Republican challenger to the president, Mark Sanford, went back to the Appalachian Trail this week. And Sanford from South Carolina, former governor, current congressman, whatever. Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina. People were thinking, hey, if she's popping back up, is it because she knew Sanford was going to get out and she's going to take his place? I don't think so. No. Here's what she's doing. She's waiting. This is going to be such a debacle for the Democrats. Trump is going to need somebody from 2020 to 2024 to help, because the Republicans are obviously going to keep the standard going.
Right.
Much like Reagan had a George H.W. following him. I think Nikki Haley is playing the role up now so that she can position herself as the heir apparent.
See, and I've been saying that for a while.
Somebody needs to be
2024.
Somebody needs to be the nominee until Trump's kids are ready to take the job.
Right, 2024. Nikki Haley.
I would
the first
would
first
not
woman
shock me.
And a first
woman
minority woman.
She's a woman of color. She is incredibly distinguished. I don't want to get too much into the whole Nikki Haley thing. I noticed that she popped up in the news cycle this week, and people are like, oh, my God, she's going to get in. She's not getting in.
Right.
She may get in 2024. I doubt Pence is even going to want it.
No. Well, and he's going to be pretty old by then, too.
Watch for this. I know we're 5 years away. Watch for this ticket. Haley Crenshaw, 2024.
I could totally see that.
Haley Crenshaw. I know a lot of conservatives that don't like it. Oh, they're globalists. I'm like, yeah, well, it's better than whatever the Democrats will come up with. And much like Trump. And you know what? And Haley and Crenshaw are obviously a great deal. Again, putting aside the partisanship, I think we can all agree that Trump is kind of a pig. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
We all know that Trump is kind of a jackass.
Right.
Okay? We know that. But again, if the Democrats cannot come up with somebody that can make it so that even if they are too far to the left politically, at least they're palatable personally. Because they're not.
Right.
The Democrats are horrible human beings. These are all, none of these people are acceptable in any circumstance. So it's like, well, you left me with no choice. Trump it is. 2024 comes around. What are they going to have? AOC? Ilhan Omar? I mean, talk about mentally unstable. Now you're going to have intellectually, deformed, potentially ISIS supporters, in the case of Omar, versus what? Nikki Haley and Dan Crenshaw. As a theory. You thought, say, well, they're globalists or whatever. I wouldn't support them. Well, again, you're not being given much of a choice.
No.
All right. Moving on. I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to get serious for a minute here at the Last Pod on the Right, here at laststopontheright.com, and, of course, our good friends at America's Podcast Network, KLRNradio.com. Santa Clarita, California. There was a shooting at a school. As usual, the Democrat Party turned it into an attempt to blame the NRA and gun owners or whatever. The usual Bible. It's
right.
Kids, in your life, I wish for you a moment of feeling the joy that one of these anti-liberty wingnuts feels when someone gets shot. You'll never see anybody as happy as a liberal is when someone gets shot, because they're like, oh, I get to go, I get to exploit dead kids for my anti-constitutional agenda. Have fun with that. Putting that aside, I wanted to ask you this question.
Okay.
You have children of school age.
I do.
They are in one of them is in high school.
One in high school, one in middle.
When you see these stories, because we talk about the politics of it, but when your kid is potentially in danger, I don't know. It's not very political. At least it shouldn't be.
No.
The reality, of course, is that the statistics bear out that school shooting, your children are actually safer in school now than they ever were.
Right.
It's just that the media wants, the anti-liberty hate groups make these stories huge. But you have kids in school. One of them's in high school. One of them's in middle school, soon be in high school. When you see these stories, what do you think? And does it affect the way you view the larger issue of firearms and firearm ownership?
I can quickly tell you, no, it does not affect me.
Okay, but why?
Because to me, it's still a constitutional freedom.
Okay, so
you're allowed to have guns. It's not, to me, it's not a gun issue. It's a mental health issue. I have been that way the whole time.
I was going to say, when you said because it's a freedom issue, and be like, well, the anti-liberty guys would say, well, you're saying you put hypothetical freedoms above your children's safety, but guns don't actually create it doesn't go from one to the next.
Right.
The presence of guns doesn't equal unsafe kids.
No.
But for you, it's a mental health issue.
It's a mental health issue. There are people that need help that show classic signs. People.
That's true. With these kids, it's always like, how did nobody notice this kid?
Or the kids say, we told so and so.
Well, that happened in Parkland,
and it never went anywhere.
That happened in Parkland.
And that's exactly right.
That kid
should have been locked up a long time ago.
4 dozen visits by authorities to his house.
Right.
And then they tried to blame the NRA.
That's
okay,
it.
so from your perspective as the parent of a high school age child, you look at Santa Clarita or whatever and say the solution should be, and then what?
I really and truly, I have no problem with armed police officers.
Okay.
Which
that was my next question. Would be like, what would you do?
Here in Savannah, we actually have that. We have cops on campus.
Well, they had that at Parkland, but the guy was a coward. And the sheriff was an incompetent boob.
That is true too. But yeah, I have no problems with that.
Presuming you have faith in local law enforcement,
right?
And what about teachers? Would you put guns in teachers' hands? Because that's been a flashpoint issue. A lot of people that are on our side and say, since it is clear the facts do not bear out blaming guns, the NRA, or gun owners for school shootings, but they don't like the idea of the teachers themselves being armed. So I would ask you, what if your kid's homeroom teacher had a 45 in the desk? Would you be okay with that or no?
Yeah, actually, I would be okay with it.
Okay.
I guess I don't condone it. I don't want, I don't think every teacher should have it, but if you're, I guess, like a registered gun owner and you are...
Okay. But you're registered the moment you buy a gun.
Well, that's
nobody ever
true.
Talks about that, but you already are.
Okay, and you have the concealed carry, and you have all of that.
All right.
I have no problem. Sure. Why not?
Let the teachers have guns in the classroom.
Exactly.
All right.
And it's amazing the difference between when you and I were in high school,
right,
compared to now when my daughter's in high school, because she has to go through a metal detector every morning.
Everything's different now, but when I hear people say, well, it's because things have gotten so much worse, I'm like, well, everything about society progresses in such a way that everything is more. But that's true. When we were kids, we were doing and seeing and hearing things that 2 generations prior to us would have been absolutely gobsmacked by.
The Vietnam War, was like the reaction to the Vietnam War. People
ask
from
your
the 40s
parents
would be like, never.
Well, ask your parents what life was like in school for that. Well, and a lot of it is just the inexorable march of society.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when a kid in school now can pick up their smartphone, an electronic device that will fit in their hand, and access literally the entirety of the accumulated wisdom of the human tribe throughout all history. Whereas when we were kids, I don't know about you, I was being taught to program in BASIC and Pascal. We had computers, but they were bricks.
Right.
When our parents were kids, they had chalkboards. They had notebook paper.
Mm-hmm.
When their parents were kids, the teacher had the chalkboard, and that was about it.
Right.
You still had Port Richard's Almanac and the Primer and stuff like that was all there. There's no way things are not going to move at a faster pace and be a little scarier and be a little wilder. And it's going to be, I'm not saying, but it strikes me that when we talk about, well, we need to make things safer like they used to be. And my response would be, there is no aspect of society that can ever be like it used to be ever again. And that includes the safety of children in schools. Of course, we have metal detectors now. Of course, we have restrictions on the kids that we wouldn't have thought about because the kids are able to get to more stuff. Right, you watch. Right. You got kids. If you're a senior in high school, if you have a child who is a senior in high school, if they're bored with the lesson, they're watching porn on their tablet. I'm just saying.
You're probably right.
I mean, it's now possible for the kids to. There's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do.
How about this? I mean, like my daughter doesn't even. She has a locker.
Okay,
but they don't have locks on them.
They don't have locks in there because they can't have locks because they can't trust the kids.
Because if a school resource officer decides that they want to investigate that locker, they should be able to.
And we needed lockers
because of drugs or guns
trust.
Or whatever. And so,
I just wanted to ask you about that.
And so my daughter carries everything around in a clear mesh
what a hassle.
Backpack.
But,
of course,
again, consider but the value of what she could potentially have access to is much greater.
Yeah, I was going to say, of course, she doesn't carry near the number of books that we've carried because everything's on a tablet.
And if she wants to, if there's something she doesn't know, it's not go to the library, wait for the kid in front of you to finish looking through that edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica so you can go look it up. Now it's literally the combined total, the aggregate sum of all of humanity's knowledge throughout all of history is literally in her hand.
Yep.
So
that's exactly right.
It's a trade-off. Speaking of school, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I wanted to get to this as well. The NCAA has suspended a player from Chase Young from Ohio State and the basketball player from Memphis for taking
a personal loan.
Well, in the case of the kid from Ohio State, his parents they had to take out a loan so his parents could come see him play in the Rose Bowl.
Right.
And the kid in Memphis, his parents wanted to move closer to him. They couldn't afford it, so Penny Hardaway helped out, I guess is the word.
Right.
And the NCAA said, you're gone. Should, and I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to ask the kiddies out there listening to the last pod on the right, should, and I will reserve my answer for a moment, should we just give up on this nonsense and just pay the damn players?
Me, personally, no.
Why?
Because
I'm going to nuke you in a second.
I know you are, and that's why when you started asking, I was like,
you're like, oh God, I'm getting trapped here.
You said, I got my answer. I'm going to give it to you in a minute.
I am laying the snare, but okay, why? Why? Why would you not pay that?
I mean,
NCAA and these colleges make billions.
But you know what? They're already in a way getting paid.
How so?
They housing, they get food, they get that stuff is all taken care of.
So the degree, the college experience is payment enough. Have you seen what colleges are doing?
Yeah,
Northwestern and Harvard have had protests in the last week because the school papers actually did real journalism, and the woke mob was upset about it.
Well, right.
I'm going to say this to you because I understand your point. And a lot of people say, well, they're getting a degree. And given how much these schools charge, that's worth like $200,000. Well, one, it shouldn't be worth because none of what these colleges are teaching anymore is worth $200,000.
No.
Given what these schools have devolved into, which is basically just incubators for the woke mob, they just indoctrinate kids with left-wing nonsense now. For example, Elizabeth Warren got paid $500,000 to teach one class at Harvard and now says it should be free. It's too expensive. I'm like, well, you're the reason.
Yeah.
But I don't think colleges can provide enough, and especially for these athletes. You say, okay, you're going to come to school. I went to college. I went to Davidson College. Davidson was not an easy school. Okay. If you are going to, Davidson was fairly small though. If you're going to Ohio State, okay, you're not in any way guaranteed to get the classes that you want to get for whatever major. And if you're a football player, they're not pushing you that hard anyway.
No.
You know what? Fine. Let them, and if you're any good, you're not going to stay for the whole time anyway. And the school is nuking money off of you. And the NCAA is making money off of you. The TV networks are making money off of you. The advertisers are making money off of you. Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. Everybody is making money off of you except you. You're getting what? A degree. A degree in what? Well, probably general studies or something like that. And it's being taught by left-wing idiots who can't function in the real world, so instead they're professors. There's not enough educational value left in college to make it fair to say that's what you're getting in return, is how I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Let them get paid. Pay them.
Now, what did they do? Actually, the NCAA has said that they can get paid by their compensated for their likeness and stuff like that. Their
likeness, but then there's restrictions. As usual, it's stupid. I'm like, they're being treated like professional athletes, except that they're not professional athletes. Right. At this point, I'm like, you know what? I would tell my kid, if my kid was was good enough to play at Ohio State, I would tell them, don't sign until they show you the unmarked, non-sequential 20s in the briefcase. So, well, you can't do that. It's bribery. It's pay to play. Like, why not? Why not? The NCAA is saying to these kids, you cannot do, based entirely on your own talent, what we are doing based entirely on your talent.
That's true.
We are going to take advantage of it in return. What? You get a dorm room? You get the training table food?
That was Cam Newton's dad's motto, wasn't it? Was, to show me the money.
Take the money. I am at a point now where, given what I'm seeing from these colleges in general, given the fact that education is no longer a priority at any of the nation's colleges, indoctrination is, athlete or not. If you can do something, hey, listen, you get out of school, if you're just some dummy who majored in gender studies and now you're just out there thinking you're going to be a professional protester and want crap for free, well, hey, tough cookies. That was the choices you made put you in this spot. If you can do something more, if you can play a sport professionally, go get that money. Well, you know what? You're in college, do it too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where I am at this point. I'm saying enough, because it's not. This week at Harvard, the newspaper took a ration of crap from the woke mob, who have replaced the professors and most of the students, because they did a story on immigrations and customs enforcement in which they actually sought comment from ICE.
Right.
They were protesting because the paper actually asked ICE for comment in a story about ICE. That's what they're mad. How dare you ask them for their opinion? It's about them. They didn't. If that's the level of education that is being offered at what ostensibly is the nation's most recognizably elite school, if not actually in practice elite, then there is no value that you can offer me as a student that I don't think, well, as an athlete, I should be getting paid. Because you're not getting an education.
No. You'd be better off going to like the local technical college.
Well, and that's the other part of it. At this point, if you do not have enough of a skill to play football at Ohio State, or hockey at Harvard, or baseball at Cal State Fullerton, or Wichita State, or wherever.
The Chakas.
Well, if you are not good enough as an athlete, then go to the Votech school.
Yeah.
Because, gender studies and woke upsetness are not real job skills. And the Democrats are never going to be able to give you all the stuff that they say they're going to give you for free. So go get that money. You're not an athlete? Go get that money. Learn how to fix an air conditioning system.
Exactly. I was going to say HVAC, because everybody wants to have air conditioning.
Or do what Twitter won't let you say on Twitter anymore. Learn to code.
That's it. That's it. I mean, computers, that's the way to go.
It's the wave of the future.
Air conditioning.
I feel like that was a good one to wrap on. I wanted to wrap on it because I knew we were going to go so far away from all the nonsense with the impeachment crap. And I was like, you know what? I want to go ahead and put that in there. Go from the colleges and be like, look, kids, if you take one thing away from this, the last pod on the right, here at laststopontheright.com and our good friends at America's Podcast Network, KLRNradio.com. Learn a valuable, tradable skill. Because if you can't play sports professionally, if you really think coughing up $500,000 for a degree in gender studies and woke mobbery is going to get you anything other than empty promises from the Democrats, you're going to end up hungry and alone.
Oh, my kids will not do that.
No.
They are not going to get a degree in any of that kind of crap. If they do, they have to pay for it.
College is what you make of it. But at this point, you have to make it, because college will not, it's not handed to you anymore. Colleges are no longer interested in educating you. They're interested in indoctrinating you.
Right.
Kids, we got a lot of good stuff coming up here on KLRN Radio throughout the evening here. If you're listening on Tuesday evening, great shows. We got Jen and Rick. We got a Pod Divided coming up. Also to remind you of all the other great shows that come up throughout the week. You got Brad with his look at Weird Hollywood, which is always fun, and a lot of other cool stuff. Thank you to all of you for tuning in to the last Pod on the Right this fine day. whether you visited us through thelaststopontheright.com or KLRN or any of the podcast platforms, and they are myriad. And we are on all of them.
All of them.
Well, thank you for being here. I am Ben Crystal.
I am Mike Epstein, did not kill himself able.
And this has been The Last Pod on the Right. Until next time, y'all keep it in the short grass. We out.